One of the things that I'm very happy to do today is to introduce our main speaker. So Dr. Khai M is an entrepreneur for 15 years in Silicon Valley, everything covering from medicine to AI. So really nice talk for, right now the data science has turned out to be such an interesting and kind of phoenix coming back from a dead winter of 20 years. So in 2005, he pioneered data mining as a co-founder and CEO of Datamind. Datamind went ahead and was acquired in 2012 through Bank of America and later by Epiphany for a total of $400 million. So this is one of the largest acquisitions at that time. Even today, it's actually quite large. If you think of, for example, DeepMind being acquired just a few years back for about 500. So since then, he's actually pioneered and started a company, Thinking Node, and that's what he's going to be talking to us today about. And the interesting thing there is he's really interested not on the data side of things, but how do you actually bring information and expert systems back in to try to make better decisions. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker.
I started as an MD, but rapidly I fell in love with computers. And because I realized that no way I can remember everything I have to learn. A doctor has normally we have about 30,000 diseases. I challenge any doctor that can have that in mind when they see a patient for 20 minutes. So we are in a very, very exciting time for several reasons. Because you can have a fantastic idea and so on, but if you don't have applications, if you don't have the money to do it, but beside the money to feel useful, because you can work on something interesting but actually doesn't help anybody. Yeah, it can be interesting, but if you can really change life of people, this is another mission. I would like to share you a little bit about my experience, not because I want to talk about myself, but because I was in the shoes of the student a long time ago when I finished my MD and PhD and know, okay, what I'm going to do about that and how I can thrive. So first of all, I want to ask, how many of you are familiar with machine learning? Wow, impressive. How many of you are familiar with reasoning computing? And okay. The two approaches are absolutely complementary, but there are some reasons why you don't hear much about reasoning computing, and my focus today is to tell you it's really worth for you guys to focus on that. So yeah, reasoning computing, why I believe it's the next market. I was pioneer in data mining machine learning because data warehousing was very important, and the next step was data mining machine learning. Today, I'm saying that after data mining machine learning, we need reasoning computing. So, this is the classic things that you see in any literature, the difference between signal, data, information, and knowledge, and usually people put on the top wisdom. I don't want to do that because, first of all, I don't know really what is wisdom in terms of definition, and secondly, it's totally orange and apple. What does that mean? Is signal, data, information, and knowledge, you can quantify them. Wisdom, you cannot. This pyramid doesn't help you much. What is important for me is to understand that there is a real difference between knowledge and information. When you read something, an article or whatever, this is information. And it becomes knowledge only when you were able to internalize it into your knowledge base, if I may say. And this is very simplistic. I'm not trying to say that this is how neurobiologists people think, but basically, just to put the thing and to talk about it. Humans, we are very good at solving problems, and we do that with two main ways. The right brain is for pattern recognition, and the left brain is mainly for reasoning, analytics. So pattern recognition is about how to associate information with past situation. Past. This is the main thing. Past situation. The reasoning is about how to make sense of facts or assumption So you can lead to new conclusion. So from this definition, you can feel already the main difference between the two things. One is really about how I can define some pattern from the past, and I have something new, so I'm going to try to match it with something that I already see. On the reasoning side, there is no notion of past. Knowledge is knowledge, that's it. So the mechanism of using knowledge is totally different. So we do that very well for millennium. The only thing is we cannot scale. And based on Miller study, and probably it changed and so on, but approximately, you and I, we can manage only 5 to 9 concepts at the same time. This explains why artificial intelligence is so important today. And curiously, you have the same kind of dichotomy in AI. And like I said, I asked you at the beginning, yeah, most of you know about machine learning, pattern recognition, but you don't think about this part. And what is amazing is this part, we are doing it every day. When you study, when you are doing your thing, you need to do reasoning. So to define it better, so in AI, it's about how to use data to find pattern and or to make predictions with that, statistical prediction. On this side, it's about how to use knowledge to infer new knowledge. And at the same time to make decisions. So this is something people don't think about that, but again, they do that every day. We infer new knowledge from existing knowledge. So example of applications, self-driving car, skin cancer, image recognition, consumer recommendation. On the other side, it's about solving a problem like drug development, safety, personalized medicine, synthetic biology. So these two approaches are complementary, but they are using totally two different raw materials. Today, people all the time talk about data. Yes, data is amazing. I've been there, and it's the revolution today. But the other side is knowledge. Why you collect data? You don't care about data. What you want is to get knowledge from the data. So data is rock, and it's very tough to work with that. So it's why, so much people work on machine learning and data mining and so on to extract knowledge. But one thing we don't realize is, okay, now that we have knowledge that is growing, what we do with that? What is the device we have to process knowledge today? It's our brain. And again, we go back to the 5-9 concept, which means that human reasoning today is the bottleneck that we have to overcome. But as you know, with technology, we have what we call big data, and this becomes a bottleneck. It's why you need machine learning. And this is where most of the AI companies are. So, yes, go to that, because we're still at the beginning of that. But as you know, if you want to build a business, you want to do something, you have to be different. On the other side, when knowledge was not too complex, yeah, human processing is okay. But human, we are born to create more knowledge by thinking about knowledge. So we make it more and more rich, which means more and more complex too. And the other thing is the output of machine learning and so on give us new knowledge, correlations about new things. There is not one way to do reasoning computing, and people in this room are working on the reasoning on the other way. But it's very important to think about that as an essential component for humanity in terms of progress. So this is where we are focusing on. The other thing is the machine learning, as you know, are not transparent. And a lot of people say, yeah, we don't care, for example, self-driving car, you don't really need to know what exactly, how it gets out from the result. But when you do the reasoning, you need to understand what's going on. It's very important. It's how we improve our knowledge and optimize things. The other thing is, in machine learning, it's problem specific. You cannot, and people call that one of the challenges in machine learning is transfer learning. Yeah, you cannot use something that works for a specific problem and just use it for another problem. The other side, it's problem agnostic. Why? Because it's related to the knowledge. So I'll give you an example. To be able to do vaccine development, you have to understand the immune system, right? The immune system is not specific for vaccine. You can use it again for cancer treatment, for example. So knowledge allows you to accumulate the system. More it knows, better it is. So ignoring the available knowledge doesn't make sense for me. And a lot of people say to you something, yeah, we are data-driven because knowledge is imperfect, is incomplete. It's the same thing for data. Data is imperfect and incomplete. But the thing is, yeah, it's not very good, but with the knowledge we have, we are able to go to the moon. We are able to do antibiotic. We are able to do vaccine. We are able to do computer. So it's not so bad. So now what if we can have a system that instead of processing only 5 to 9 concepts, using the same stupid methodology with knowledge incomplete and so on, but can process thousands of concepts at the same time, I think we can have a very fast progress. To go a little bit more, to give you the differences, pattern recognition is about matching an output with an input. Or in between you can have a bunch of layers, but mainly it means that how I can match an input with an output. But the reasoning is not about that. You want to understand that actually this one has an impact on this one and so on. You have to understand the mechanism, the causality of things, so you can really solve the problem. So let's take an example. So I take always this example because it illustrates very well the thing. What is really the difference between big data and complex knowledge? So this is the lady or the tiger. I don't know how many of you know this poem. Okay, so don't give the answer. So you have 2 rooms, and in each room either you have a lady or a tiger, and you have a prisoner, and the prisoner has to find where is the lady. And to help you, in front of each room you have a sign, and in addition to that it says that if the lady is room 1, the sign 1 is true. If the lady is room 2, the sign 2 is false. And it's the opposite for the tiger. Where's the lady? There's no trick. Okay? If you spend, a couple of minutes, you will find it. 9 rooms, forget it. It's exponentially complex because the room can be empty, and if the room is empty, the sign can be true or false. So let's try a little bit to realize how complicated it is. Let's suppose that the first sign is true, which means that the lady is in odd room, which means she can be room 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9, right? So let's suppose she's in room 3, which means that either sign 5 is right or the sign 7 is wrong. So let's suppose that the sign 5 is right, but wait a minute, I was starting saying the sign 1 should be true, but I have no clue, it can be false. So our poor 5, 9 concept that we can stack make us in trouble, even though, and this is the main point, you and I will understand perfectly each piece of this information, right? We understand it perfectly, no problem. It's the combination, okay? This kind of things, machine learning is not designed for that, okay? There is no data to learn about, and less even big data. So this is to illustrate what I mean by that. So before to go, I want to emphasize another thing. A lot of people, try to use big data things for biology. What you have to see is, for machine learning, big data is about big data on a number of cases that are similar, so you can find a pattern of this similar case. Biology is about diversity. So you have a lot of data, but most of the data are not about the same similar case. So each time that you hear about big data, you have to understand what kind of big data. Now, if you replace the lady, the tiger, the room by T cell, B cell, and so on, antibody, antigen, it's the same kind of problem. Not exactly, because here we have uncertainty, but we will talk about later. So this is a kind of problem that the biologist has to deal with every day. And they're not dealing with big data, they're dealing with a lot of knowledge that they have to combine. So if you use the machine learning, but here, I'm not here to shoot in machine learning, I'll be working on that. I just try to show the difference and what kind of things. So if you use a machine learning logic, what do you care? You care about the input Okay, so let's suppose I'm going to give the interferon gamma to this person plus the interleukin 12, and this guy has a deficiency of the CTLA4 and so on, and I want to know what can be the impact on the cancer metastasis. So the thing is, if you do with the machine learning, first of all this knowledge, you don't care about it, okay? Because it doesn't take into account the knowledge, the available knowledge. It just wants to find correlations between the input and the output. In this case, what we want is to be able to understand what's going on. So I put in black what the human we are capable of putting, because we are a finite concept. So yeah, if we can infer only the black row, we say, oh, I don't have enough knowledge to solve the problem, or I don't know what's going on, I'm lost, and so on. And so like in the lady or the tiger, the soonest we will know where is the lady, it's a new knowledge that we were able to infer from the existing knowledge. So now if we deep even a little bit more into the cells, this is metabolic pathways from Roche. And actually, this map is even incomplete because there is a number of reactions that represent here. For example, this one, you can see that there is 2 possible reactions to do that, but actually there are 3 more reactions that people don't even put here. But as computer scientists, you understand that if in average, each of these reactions has 3 or 4 other possibilities, can you imagine the combination of that? We see the deficiency. But how we can think about the impact of that? Well, the impact of that is in the metabolic, what consequence it has on the protein, the RNA, DNA, and so on. So it's extremely complex, and there is 2 main reasons why it's so tough to understand. For example, in human, we have about, in total, 40,000 genes. Half of them are coding, half of them are doing regulating. We have more than 200,000 transcripts and so on. So this is the state of the complexity. So it's very complex because, first of all, each of these domains are in silos, okay? Genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, metabolics, and so on. And even if you are an expert in one of them, let's say in genomics, you are aware only part of it, right? And what you are aware about it, well, you forget. So you can access only this. And it's not the worst. The worst is you can process only 9 of them at the same time. So this is where we are, how we do research, if I may say. So we don't use the knowledge at the full, imagine all the knowledge we have, and we are processing only part of it. Oh, I wanted to illustrate that with a visual. So this is when you work on something, you concentrate on something, so this is your scope. This is what the whole domain people know about. And actually, this is the whole thing. So how we can connect these different things at the level of the computer? The only way to do that is 1, to augment the processing power, the reasoning, and 2, how to connect the element. So this is our mission. So we already start to work with that with Craig Venter Institute. We call that AI biology. We work on how to understand why some genes are essential for life. We are just using their own knowledge, but their knowledge is so combinatorial that they themselves have tough time to explain in detail why this gene is essential for life. And then we uploaded more than 10,000 metabolic reactions, so the map you saw over there is not even 2,000. So 10,000 metabolic reactions across 2,900 organisms. Why we do that? It's because today when you want to produce a molecule, you can take a yeast, you change the genome of the yeast by doing genetic engineering, right? This first of all, it takes about 10 years to do that. But you are limited to the genome of the yeast. Here the idea is to say, okay, forget it, we are going to combine all the possible organisms, and we are going to let AI to find out the right pathway to produce the molecule we want. Everything in the system, and again, I'm saying it's reasoning computing, there are different possible approaches. But the approach we have is based on distributed AI, and I would say it's not pure intelligent agent, it's neuron intelligent agent. We are in between. Because until now, reasoning computing has two big problems. One is how to fit the system. So to fit the system is about knowledge acquisition, how you put the knowledge into the system. And until now, the people in AI on this part, when they try to acquire the knowledge, they try to see how the experts solve the problem. And this is the problem. Because the experts solve the problem in different ways based on the situation. So we are not focusing on how the expert solve the problem, we are focusing on how the expert organize his or her knowledge. And we let the system solve the problem. Okay? So this knowledge acquisition. The second part is most of the system have one or two logic. What we're doing here is a framework where you can implement multi-logic with exactly the same network. So this concept has two things very simple at the high level for the user: association and requirements. So association is when you need this concept, requirement is what it is needed to make this concept work. So I take an example. Let's suppose that the concept means use a car. So when do you need to use a car? When you have something heavy, when you have long distance to go. What are the requirements to use a car? You need to have gas, you need to have driver license, right? So why it's so important? So let's take the pharmaceutical market. It costs about $2.5 billion to make a drug. And it takes in average about 15 years to make a drug. And only 1/10 of the drugs after the phase 1 will reach the market. Okay? So in total, for the pharmaceutical industry, they spend about $150 billion in terms of research and development. So the thing is, where reasoning computing can be useful is one is to do automation, how to integrate information about the patient, how to make better decisions, generating faster hypotheses, and clinical trial, very important for the big pharma, because based on how you have your set of people who test the drugs, you will have a better or worse result. Therapeutics, as I showed you, for example, when I knock down the enzyme, it can be used for drug discovery, drug safety. So we are working right now with one big pharma to understand a new compound, what is the chance of this compound to create, to make bleeding, for example. So we are using the knowledge of the people and the experimental data to do that. And in diagnosis, same thing. You need to understand the system so you can do the discovery. Personalized medicine, you have to integrate all the elements to be able to make a diagnosis. Today, most of the time, when people talk about personalized medicine, they talk about genetics, they talk about machine learning, making prediction based on your genes and so on. It's not enough. And first of all, machine learning is about statistics. So how you can go from statistic to personalized if you don't have the reasoning. Synthetic biology. In 2016, more than $1 billion have been invested into startup companies, and not many of them. And AI can be a tremendous help for this kind of field. So very rapidly, like I said, yeah, I started a long time ago on the machine learning, and today I would like to really encourage you to get into the reasoning computing. Yeah, we are looking for the most brilliant people with the lowest ego, and this is an important part, and who really believe that they can change the world. So, thank you very much.